Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting for February 9th, 2016. And before the meeting starts, I'd like to make the following announcements. Only information to be discussed is what is on the agenda. Discussion or request to discuss new information may be put on the next agenda at the discretion of the chair. No interruptions between each speaker must go through the chair, and the health agent's report is provided by the health agent. If there is any questions, they need to go through the chair. And that's where we will start.
Madam Chair,
Yes, KJ?
I had requested a couple of items to be put on permanently on my agenda. One of the related to the food vendors, as well as the other one was the mosquito control law. And those are missing here. And recently I requested Zika virus. At least subsequent meetings, at least we should pay attention to these. And the mosquito-borne virus is getting a highlight in the United States. The government is trying to allocate about $1.8 billion, so it is a major issue that's coming up, so we need to be prepared ahead of time and then safeguard the people.
So the Zika virus and the food inspection, what was the third one?
The mosquito control itself, preventive measures of mosquito control by looking at the water bodies within the Ashland.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, I have a question also.
Yes,
I'm curious as to your stated policies. They don't appear to be consistent with other boards in this town, nor they're definitely not consistent with Robert's Rules of Order. And I question concerning the agenda items, because as I have submitted them over the last several months, it appears that some of them don't get on the agenda. And with having these restrictions during the meeting, excuse me, I've been sick the last week, so if I'm out of breath, I'm okay. That it inhibits us performing our responsibilities for the public.
the information that I just read has been approved by town council, and that will continue to be read at the beginning of each and every meeting. So we're now going to go
Madam
to
Chair,
citizens'
as a
participation.
point of order, please.
Excuse me, but we're going by the agenda, and the first thing on our agenda
Well, I
is
wanted
the
to ask
citizens'
about why the
participation.
town manager's attorney would have input into the,
It is not
into
the
the
town
working-
manager's attorney, it is the attorney for the town.
well,
And she
that's,
is open to all boards, on all board members for difficulties or answering to any questions. Now, we need to proceed.
so what you have
and go
chosen to do is request the town
Okay, citizens'
manager's
participation.
attorney to set policies for the board.
Go ahead, Joe.
Joel Arbeitman, Woodridge Lane. First, just pursuant to a conversation I had, or was being had a few minutes ago, I just wanted to raise the issue of standing water when we talk about rain barrels and things like that. We have, with some of the watering restrictions we've had in town for quite some time now, and those even being proposed anew by the Water Policy Committee, will be, I believe, a warrant article in the Maytown meeting. I would hope that this board would weigh in on its opinion on the following. Most of the watering restrictions, when hand watering is allowed, allow it from 7 p.m. until, I believe, 7 a.m. the next morning. Yet every year with equine encephalitis and whatever all those other bad things we can get from mosquitoes are, you guys know better than I do, we're told, don't go out at dusk, bundle, even if it's hot out, put
Long
long
sleeves.
sleeves and all this, but there's risk. So I'm not saying what the policy should or shouldn't be. I would hope that you would weigh in on whether an evening hand watering allowance is the right time of day. Not, the argument is it's better from a sustainability point of view, apparently, to do it at night, to not have water evaporate and be wasted. But I think all of these things need to be looked at with expertise and your knowledge and the public health and weigh what the right policy is. So I would hope that you would actively participate in determining policies like that. I think it's very, somebody could die from these diseases, and so it's no small, minor matter on the sideline what the hours are going to be. It's health.
Right.
That's pretty important. Secondly, I sent the board, as you know, a letter after your last meeting. I think it was the day after the meeting. Mr. Oram had asked me to see if I could identify other towns that indeed had banned private wells. I believe what your direction to me is to see if I could go off and find some other towns that were doing that had that type of policy. And I didn't do it.
Okay, I'm saying, Joel, I don't remember.
Okay, that's all right. But what I did do was I looked up what the law was as best, I'm not a lawyer, but I did my best to try to find what I could
We
find.
appreciate it, Joe.
And I appreciate your appreciation. And what I came up with was something called the Massachusetts Water Management Act. And in Chapter 21G, Section 7, which is what I quoted you, I gave 2 criteria by which local boards of health could ban private wells. One such instance is exactly what your current criterion is, which is to ban it in cases where there is clear interconnectivity to feeder aquifers to the public water supply. That's exactly what you're doing. It's my understanding that the board's and Mr. Orum's current view of that is that our local public town well aquifers are very short in distance, so that most private property in Ashland is where a private well might be sought, it is not relevant under that particular law or bylaw, whatever it's called. But the other was interesting to me, and it's what I had actually recommended this and then came to find out that it's policy. So what I had recommended in a previous letter to the board was that it adds in the phrase presently, tying into a public aquifer that is presently permitted for public town water, or projected uses of the water source. So that, to me, is a much broader interpretation of what you have purview over. Doesn't mean you should ban any well or every well, but in cases where the town may see a future need for more water sources, I think that it does give you far more latitude to look at the possibility that a town well might be situated proximate to a developer's site where he is seeking a permit for a new private well. What I'd like to see happen here, because I think it's a dicey proposition, even legal, even if you said, well, Joel, he's got a great idea, let's do that, that might not stand up in court. You got to understand how this works. So, somebody's not going to like that you restrict them. So what I propose is that the town needs to take a look at all possible, anything that might be a legitimate and credible water site. This is not something this board would be charged with doing. And once they identify these locations, then I would like to see this board be very sensitive to those locations as to what aquifers might reasonably tie in or might be suspected. I don't know whether you have to have absolute proof positive that this aquifer goes to that land, or whether it's reasonable to assume that if it's within whatever distance, a half a mile or a mile or whatever it might be, that you might have some reasonable jurisdiction over it. So anyway, I just hope that you'll take a very careful look at this and get very actively involved in it. 2 more topics, both very brief. One is that on your agenda, you have, in the health agent's report, you have a discussion of the proposed subdivision on Whittemore Drive. Why do I bring such an obscure item up? Because I am chair of the Ashland Upper Charles Trail Committee, and we are charged with trying to locate biking and walking facilities around the town. There's an organization called Smart Growth America that looks at good design for towns and cities all across the country. And one of their stipulations, one of their guidelines and recommendations is to do everything that we can reasonably do within our budget and within the layout of the town to enhance walking and biking for the public health. This is what you guys are about.
Absolutely.
So Whittemore Drive is coming along, and our committee is having a little bit of a hard time there. One of the things is that, and I don't want to be that specific on the trail that we're charged with building. This should be true of all cul-de-sacs and all new streets. I'd like to see this board look at warrant articles, get involved more with the planning board proactively to look at what makes walking and biking feasible. If this Whittemore development goes in with no modifications to the proposed plan, it's cutting off this particular trail that we're working on. We can't get there from here. Not only will it cut off that one little piece of access, It will cut out getting to the train station so people could walk or bicycle to the train station. They're not going to be able to get there, say from Cross Street, to come up to Whittemore and go into the rail transit district to get to the train. There's no sidewalk on High Street. So we had a plan that would get us there. They're not going to be able to get to what is currently the middle school. They're not going to be able to get to downtown Ashland. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to make these different links in our community tie together. So you know far better than I do. You probably have tasks to do with water management or with septic or whatever the regulatory considerations you have would be. I'd like to see you be far more proactive and talk about when new streets are going in, especially something like this subdivision on Whittemore, to look at what can be done early on in the process so that things don't have to be redesigned. It doesn't have to be a fight after the fact about, you know, we kind of wanted to do this. It would be great if we could make some of these things part of our town policy with the Board of Health's support and encouragement so that walking and biking programs would have a place to walk and bike. Last item. At your last meeting, there was a discussion of decibel meters. And there was some talk about, you know, would the police department buy one? Would you bring in an expert consultant because it might be difficult to train somebody on using the equipment? There was quite an extensive discussion about this. I just want to inform the board that at a recent, within the last 2 weeks, Board of Selectmen meeting, they had something called a hearing for an entertainment license for a local restaurant.
Yes.
And at that hearing, they had the owner of the place who was doing all kinds of good things, putting in soundproofing and, you know, whatever he was doing. He wanted to make it so that it would work for the neighbors and work for his business. And he brought up an expert with him
Sound engineer, yeah.
who talked about, a sound engineer. That was the guy's title. And this sound engineer, and I'm paraphrasing him now. We could get his exact words. It's, you know, that's also been recorded. But the sound engineer said that he could easily show anyone, literally in a few minutes, how to use this device properly. It's not a technical device. It's not complicated. It almost sounded like you turn it on and you monitor, you hit monitor, and it gives you a readout, and it says this is very loud, this is not so loud, and so on. So, you know, the fact that a local business owner had the resources to purchase such a thing. It seems like the town, with all its resources, while we're not rolling in money, it doesn't seem like that big a commitment, and it seems like, you know, noise and hearing is part of the public health again, and there are other zoning concerns that go beyond that as far as, you know, protecting people's right to, you know, peaceful enjoyment of their properties and so on. So anyway, I would encourage you to just see what it would take, whether it's through this board or however the town does it, to acquire a decibel meter. And, you know, I think that it sounds like the training would be very minimal. So that's all I've got, and I thank the board for giving me the time. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a couple updates. One, at the next meeting that we plan for February 23rd, Timothy Deschamps will be a guest speaker from the Central Mass Mosquito Control Program, and he'll go over the Zika virus and as well as wetlands, bodies of waters, and so forth. I can address each one for you as it relates to mapping. I did have a chance yesterday or Friday to go on to the state website, and there are some overlays for some of your aquifers and so forth. But again, as you know, Ashland's pretty limited on its zone of contribution with the public water supply. The existing until changed, and that's all I could find on the so I was working trying to find information as well. There are several overlays you can do on it as well, and it's a good site. It's the Mass GIS site, just if anyone from the listening public might want to know about that as well. Sidewalks, bike trails, Joe, just so you know, every single tech review meeting we have, which is a matter of having the planning agent, the building inspector, police, fire, conservation, we always recommend smart growth. Smart growth being promoting public health through what Joe was saying, bike trails, sidewalks. The problem is we're one entity, and we're not just dealing with our own peers, we are also dealing with all the different boards and agencies. But anytime I can promote a sidewalk, including connecting sidewalks, I'm there for that, as well as any type of motion smart growth being trying to get the center of our town to have more businesses where you can walk to them and so forth, and bike trails, so forth and so on. So we do promote it presently, and I just wanted to note that, because I don't know even if the board knew that, so just so the board knows. And the last one is the decibel meters. I've used decibel meters. I've been trained by DEP to a minimum. We've had discussion with management, police chief, and myself. It's the issue of the time it takes to get out there, what time of day you're out there, and also getting your base levels. That takes time and effort. So it's a matter of budgeting, and that's where management's involved with us. And I think we'll find a solution by the next budget season, which starts in July. So we are working on that as well. But just to help you out with some of the responses, you're welcome. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, do you know what it costs for the meter that you want to buy?
I
Does it-
don't.
I don't either.
thought you were
I
gonna
borrowed,
research that.
I borrowed the meter I was trained with back in the 1980s from DEP. I don't know if DEP still has a loaner program, but I don't know the cost of them, but I think
Is there a way to get some numbers to me so that I can find out whether,
I can ask the
can be-
management what their plan is. I think the chief may have already done that. So again, I don't want to do something that's already been done by,
right, but
say,
getting the
police
cost,
chief. Yeah, the
getting the
police
cost,
chief may
and
have
also
already done that.
is there a specific brand or a specification that is required by law to have it for that particular meter? That I could just use one of my phones to do the app. That may not be accurate enough, or that may not be standard for them to accept it by legal standards. So we might need something. If you can get a cost for me, then I'll see if somebody can fund it.
Madam
Joel,
Chair?
do we have a copy of the trail that you are presently planning, where it starts, where it ends, exactly where it runs through the town?
Well, the trail at this point is still in the proposal stage, so we're still looking at various pieces. You know, we may modify it based on a number of different issues that are going on. If you wanted to see the trail as currently planned, there's actually two versions of it on a website. Rather than build one specially for the committee, we have it on a website that is ashlandbikeclub.com. I'll tell you how to get to it, though. It's very easy. And on the left-hand side menu under ashlandbikeclub.com, the last item on the left-hand side menu says Upper Charles Trail Committee. And if you click on that, it will bring you to a page, and if you look under where it'll say Proposed Trails. You'll be able to see a link to it there. But please understand that this is very much, you know, this is our best first pass at it, and you know, there are many issues with regard to slopes, abutters, wetlands, and many other issues that we need to take under advisement. And one small change can make us not be able to link along the pipeline that we had, and we may have to go a whole different route. So
That's why
there's
I
a
thought
lot
maybe-
in flux right now.
Maybe if we had some idea exactly where you were going, it would be helpful to us in some of the things that we have
Well,
decisions.
you know, what I can do is send the board, I can send the board an email with the links in it where you could go look at actual maps.
That would be great.
They're interactive, you can expand them, you can even see parcel IDs and wetlands and all sorts of things. It's
That would
pretty
be
good.
great.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank
My
you.
turn.
Would that give the exact location where this is going to impact this Whittemore Street plan that they have, or?
It would, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Joel, for adding those things. I think, actually, I listed 3 items here that you had mentioned. There may have been 4, excuse me. I think all of them are great topics. I've been actually thinking for a while, about how we can better address many of those things, whether it's the noise, whether it's trails and smart growth, those kinds of items. I would suggest to my fellow board members that we actually consider forming subcommittees to address those. On the agenda today, under discussion of the Board of Selectmen proposal for committee to consider town bylaws, I actually submitted that prior to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and I was kind of anticipating that they were actually going to form subcommittees to discuss noise or to discuss, you know, decibel readings and things like that. But as it turned out, I believe, from what I heard, that it was more about enforcing the regulation piece of it. But I believe that each one of those topics actually could use some expertise that maybe we could pull in from other sources. I know that there are people in the town who are very experienced as sound engineers, for example, who could contribute to a conversation. From what I've read, for instance, on decibels, and I did watch that Board of Selectmen's meeting, and I was a little concerned that that gentleman was representing the restaurant. In other words, he was downplaying what that was all about. And I'm not an expert in it, but I was a little concerned that it was just a piece of the whole story rather than the whole story from what I have read. And then going backwards, the walking trails, the reason why I would appreciate that this board would consider doing a subcommittee is Mr. Oram nicely described how the tech review committee, how the development office, what do they call them? They call it, but the group that is formed there discusses, collaborates, and that's great. It's great to have collaboration between different people in the town with different expertise, the employees, but yet it becomes responsive to the goals that are set from the administrative piece, the town manager, rather than a Board of Health perspective. And I think it would be great if the Board of Health would have a perspective that was separate, maybe very much in sync with the town manager's perspective, but a separate perspective, so that then we could bring that to that. And the water is kind of similar in that we have, a water study committee, we have a sustainability committee, and possibly we as a Board of Health could have a better connection with those committees so that they could be our arms and our legs doing a lot of that background work, bring proposals specifically to us as we basically make a delegation to them. In other words, please research this, bring back information. So I just wanted to comment and thank you.
Okay, we do have, did you have anything else, Joel?
No, that's great. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Minutes.
I move to accept the minutes of September 22nd as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion, point of order, please.
Discussion?
I noticed on the September 22nd meetings that there was not a list as required by the open meeting law of the items that were considered during the meeting.
Madam Chair, if I may, I've spoken
Yes.
to the clerk about this matter. We will be getting a list together. That was not done at the time, since the information that's presented outside of people coming into our meeting is on file,
Okay.
and that's where it will be kept.
I'm sorry, could you clarify
Yes.
that, please? I
So,
didn't hear what you said.
We do have applicants that will come in to submit. They'll bring whatever they wish to submit to the board, such as you'll see tonight, I think, in one of our hearings. But if there's information that I've submitted, it's already on file. The list does have to be there. The actual agenda packet that's filed after it's approved would be lengthy. So I've asked Laura to put the list together of what was presented, and it's mostly on the front of the agenda. But the information that goes along with it, it can be on file within the Board of Health office. 'Cause your
Correct, but
packets
the list
would
needs to be part of this. So because it's not, it would be, I would believe, a violation of the open meeting law to approve minutes that do not,
But these don't have to be, I'm sorry.
It's all right, go ahead.
that do not correspond to what the law requires.
Correct me if
And
I'm,
I know that there are other towns in this community. I mean, Sherburne, for one example, has an extensive list on their Board of Health minutes, and it is what every town does that I've ever seen. I know what the state does, and I know what the open meeting law says. So
well, I just
I
have,
would recommend that we table any minutes that do not have that list.
I have a question.
Yes,
Isn't
go
it
ahead,
true, isn't it true that can be, doesn't have to be attached to the minutes? That has to be on file.
That
It
is
doesn't have to
correct.
be
That's
attached.
correct.
That is correct.
It has to be
Could I address this?
incorporated in the minutes,
It's up to
Yes,
the
Joe.
list.
It is my understanding that the following stands, and, I would really encourage you to really read the law, and we don't have to guess at it. We can read it and see what it says. This is my understanding. You do not have to attach documents that were discussed in a public meeting
To the minutes.
to the minutes. However,
They have to be.
there absolutely has to be a reference to them, because otherwise, someone reading the minutes would not be aware that they exist elsewhere. So there's got to be a list of what the documents are, and hopefully where to obtain them. That is a requirement of the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you,
If I may,
Joe.
Madam Chair.
And if I can
Mike,
add,
Just on this whole situation, the board can approve the substance of the meeting, meeting minutes, and then we will put that list together. May I also add that we are way behind in approving minutes,
Yeah.
which breaks the open meeting law as well.
Exactly.
So in speaking with the clerk, approving the substance and allowing us to start working on the list would be the suggestion that I would make based on my discussions with the clerk, town clerk, because at this present time, with these minutes being so far dated, you are also breaking that open meeting law too. So I know in the past, we're not the only board. I think this was practice and standard that the list on the agenda was basically the list you're gonna find on the back of the agenda, but we will be working on that. I've already spoken to Laura and the town clerk. Other boards will probably be coming up to that too, but there has been no issue with them approving their minutes without list as well, and I would suggest highly that you approve these minutes, because they're way past due for approval.
Madam Chair, I would like to make, Madam Chair, I would like
We
to
have a
make
call
another
to move the
comment.
vote.
I call to move the
Can I,
vote.
before that, I had.
We've
I
had a
had
call
raised-
to move the
It
vote.
would be
Sorry,
a
I had
violation
raised-
of the
I had
open
raised
meeting
this
law.
issue beforehand. I just wanted the clarification on the motion. Is that going to be en bloc for all of those minutes or only one by one?
September 22nd. was-
September 22nd.
September
The
20.
motion on the floor is for September 22nd.
Call to
And
move
it's
the
been
vote.
moved the vote.
I will file an open meeting law complaint,
Do I
because
have,
what Mr. Orm's
I have a
representation
second?
is incorrect.
all
I
those in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's passed, Laura?
Okay, I move to accept
Excuse
the
me,
minutes of October 13th.
excuse
Okay.
me, the vote was not
October
fully taken.
13th.
Point of order.
Um,
Point of order.
Point of order, the chairman is speaking, and you should be quiet and listen to what is being said. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
need to
you
get
took
this
through, you
done.
took a vote by requesting those in favor. That is all you requested.
And that those in favor gave me a majority.
Would you please continue the vote?
Those that object,
I object.
2. 3-2 is the vote. Thank you. Okay, October 13th.
I just made a motion to accept October 13th as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Just point of order, discussion,
Those
please.
opposed?
Point of order, discussion, please.
Go ahead, Judith.
I had submitted corrections to those minutes that were quite lengthy, and I would like an opportunity to go through each item that I would like to add as a correction to the minutes.
Madam Clerk, if I may,
Yes, Ed.
we've all received it and we've all read it. It's very lengthy. I would remind the member that a transcript of the proceedings is not required, a summary of discussion, and the summary suggests a brief description. I personally believe that everything that was written in those minutes was fine. Some of your suggestions, I don't have any objection to, but I don't think that they're substantive enough to reject or to accept. I have fine with the way that they are written, and I call to move the vote.
May I add that Mr. Hart did not attend the full meeting?
True.
So I find that those comments may not be accurate. Once again, I indicate that in violation of the open meeting law, there are not the attached items. And in this particular meeting, this was referenced during the town meeting as a vote having been taken on a warrant article being submitted. And it was my presentation at the town meeting that warrant article had not been voted on at this meeting, yet in these minutes, there is a reference that it had been approved by the board, so there is no other interpretation of an approval other than a vote. The votes are not clearly stated. There was
Madam Chair.
extensive discussion concerning the back and forth
All
and
right,
the
one
back
moment,
and
Judith.
forth concerning different votes that had been
Judy, we have someone
presented,
else that
and
would like
that
to
is,
voice an opinion
that
on
is
this.
required by the
Ed, go
open
ahead.
meeting law.
I
So
call
in-
to move the vote.
Thank you.
Is there a
I
second?
disagree.
Okay.
Okay, we have a call to move the vote.
Can
All
I,
those in favor?
can I add one sentence if
no.
you don't mind?
No, we've already called to move the vote. All in
Madam Chair, if
favor?
I can, when you go to move the vote, you do need to take a vote on that, but no discussion can take place.
Exactly.
So you should call a vote to move the vote, then you take
All
the
right.
next vote into consideration,
you.
just to be,
This-
For the clarification.
so
My
you
question-
can't talk about moving the
You
vote.
can't
My-
talk about moving the
My
vote.
question is regarding the procedures that's being followed at the
cannot.
board. I know that we are trying to adopt a procedure, and then that also
I'm-
references,
Hey,
that
Jane.
also,
There's a
that
motion
also
on the floor.
references to a existing
Motion on the table.
parliamentary procedures.
We have a motion on the table.
I understand, it does exist, but depends on how parliamentary we are in acting on that. So I am not aware of the parliamentary
Discussion is
procedure
over.
that has been adopted. I've been asking for it, and then I believe the health agent had indicated that was available with the clerk's office, and my questioning the clerk's office says there is no such document. So I am completely unaware of what procedures are being followed here, what is written document. So you're calling for votes, the other person is calling to move the vote, and I don't know whether this is legal or not, because I'm not familiar with what procedures are being followed here.
Madam Chair, if I may, the
Yes,
board
ma'am.
has the right to make a motion to approve minutes as you're doing here. And two, if anyone calls to move the vote, there should be no further discussion. I'm only saying this as a point of order. I shouldn't even be saying anything at this point, because right now, there should be no discussion outside of a vote.
Is that
to move the
stated
vote.
somewhere, this law?
It's in Robert's rules.
Robert's rules.
So we are
Well, we
following
have-
Robert's rule?
Yes, but that's not what we've
Is
done
that
at
what
other
we need to
meetings.
call our
Just letting
parliamentary
the chair
rules?
know.
Which ones are we following?
Just letting the chair know. Thank you,
Madam
Madam Chair.
Chair,
I just
is
went
that
on
the
for
parliamentary
too.
procedure we are following, or we are following the Roberts rule
We're
stated?
following Robert's rules.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So we have
On
a
the
move the
motion.
vote. I have a motion to move the vote, first and
Second.
seconded. I need a vote. Those in affirmative?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye. Negative?
Discussion, please, point
There's
of
no
order?
discussion.
There's no discussion.
Move the vote.
Protest
Vote's
vote,
been
no.
moved.
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
It
so
is not
that's-
in the
Now
best
you can
interests
move
of
the
the citizens
Now
of
we can
this
move the
town
motion to
to
take a
have
vote
this
on the motion.
railroaded.
Right, now we have to take the vote on the minutes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Aye. Are you asking for a vote? I vote
I'm asking
yes.
for a vote. I
Yep.
have a first, I
Point
have
of
a
order,
second.
discussion, please.
We've already had the discussion.
We already had the discussion. We need a vote.
Wait a minute, we just had a motion and a second. Point of
And
order,
you had a
discussion.
discussion after the motion was made. It was then moved the vote. There is no discussion after the moving of the vote. There is a vote to be taken, and that's what we are doing. So I have 3 in affirmative. Those opposed?
Aye.
3-2, Laura, please. Okay, the 27th of September.
I move to accept the minutes of October 27th, 2015, as written.
Second.
Discussion?
I wanted to indicate again that there are no attachments to this, that the discussion that had occurred here concerning Mr. Oram, when he stated that it was his custom to submit warrant articles without the approval of the board, is not fully described in here. And it would be in violation of the open meeting law to not have those when the minutes are being adopted. So I would be in a position to have to file another open meeting law complaint concerning this.
Madam Chairman, I would remind the member that she made that claim at the open town meeting
Yes.
and in front of the entire town, and was informed by the town attorney and the town moderator that the only board on this town that has to vote on a warrant article is the planning board. So we weren't required to take a vote to submit this warrant.
If I may correctly heard that Lisa Mead said that they can take the vote anytime, that's what she said.
Yes.
She didn't say that we cannot take a vote on it.
Now,
I'm
no,
sorry.
she didn't say we cannot, she said we did not have to.
I did not have to.
No,
I
my
would
my
suggest that
recollection
there
was
are
that they
audio
could vote
recordings
anytime
of
they
all
want.
of these meetings, and that people should access those audio recordings, which are not referenced in these minutes, which is also another violation of the open meeting law.
Okay,
Madam
we
Chairman,
have,
I call to move the vote.
okay, we have to move
Second.
the vote. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Protest vote.
3-2.
Okay.
Now you have to move for the minutes, Mary.
Yeah, now
Now
we'll take
the
the vote.
motion
Take the
without
Okay,
discussion
Now we
is
have
for
a
the
motion
approval of
to
the minutes.
accept the
Excuse me, I didn't
original
hear what
motion
Mr. Oram
as
said.
accept,
I was
as,
explaining the same procedure, I just, point
Exactly.
of order, just explained earlier, that if you move a vote,
Then you
there
have to
is
take
no
a vote.
more
to take a vote.
discussion, that's within the Roberts rules. So I was just reminding the chairperson, she has to take a vote on the minutes as well.
exactly.
There's 2 votes involved.
I don't believe that that's true.
So I need a vote for
I-
acceptance of the minutes.
Aye.
That's true.
For October
Excuse me,
first
what
and
are we
seconded.
voting on? Which
Okay,
minutes?
so
What are
all
we
those
voting
in-
on?
This
I
is
did
the-
not hear the motion.
This is the 27th.
Point of order?
The 27th, all those in favor?
The 27th of,
Those opposed?
aye. I guess I'm
3-2?
opposed. I'm not sure what the motion was, but I'm opposed
For the
to
17th of
accepting them as a
November?
railroaded.
October,
What happened to 10th?
I'm
and-
sorry,
October.
Yeah, 27th.
October.
27th of October was just
I
voted.
missed it, I'm sorry.
For point of order, it was October 27th. You're going in order of the agenda,
Yes.
Right.
as it states in the agenda, just.
I had a
think that
correction for
helps.
So
10th
now
of
we're
November
going to
meeting.
November 10th, is that correct?
Yes.
I had a correction
Okay.
for that 10th of November meeting.
Okay,
I had requested that a response in writing be brought from the town attorney regarding the votes that were taken on the 13th of October. And that was agreed upon, and then I don't see a response, and that is not reflected on the minutes either.
do you know anything about that,
I'm
Mike?
not for sure. I think the.
Of course, I
final
said it, and then he
decision-
made sure that it should be in writing that,
Well, I
Charles.
can't recall back to November, but.
I
I'd
heard
be
it.
Glad to look.
Yeah, if you
we're
would
glad
check
to
that
look.
out, we'll bypass that one, we'll table that for the present time.
Will we be, I have a question, will we be having the list attached at that point?
There will be lists attached to
Yeah,
each
we
of
can
the
do the best we can.
agendas.
And how will we find out about the list that
You
Mr.
can
Oram
come in and
chooses
see
to
them.
add? Excuse
They'll
me?
be available in the office.
So we would only find out whether the list corresponded to the actual, that's okay, it will all be part of a open meeting.
Would it be
Okay,
possible to scan them and send it to us?
Sure, we can do that. We'll make it as easy as possible.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but they're in the office, so I mean, they come to get any
Need to
information.
make it more difficult than it has to
That's
be.
right.
On November 17th,
I move to accept the minutes of November 17th as written.
second,
Second.
Discussion, please?
Go ahead.
go ahead.
You have-
I wanted to indicate that the statement was made up front that what Mr. Oram had said, Madam Chair, to the board, representing that it was in violation of the open meeting law to have delayed the voting on these minutes. And my reading of the open meeting law is that there is a recommendation from the Attorney General's office. There is no requirement, actually, as to the timing. And that it was the board's choice to have very, very few meetings over the last 3 months. We actually went 6 weeks with no meetings between a December meeting and the end of January meeting. And prior to that, contrary to my objection, we only had 1 meeting in November.
Madam Chair, I move
And
to
so therefore,
Second.
we
the
have
question.
actually put ourselves in this uncomfortable situation where we are being railroaded
The
with the minutes.
question has been moved. I need a vote on the movement.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
3-2. Now on to the motion of the acceptance of the minutes. I have a first and second.
Aye. Approve.
Against?
Which one?
Yeah, which one? I don't know what the
17.
motion is.
The
17th.
Pay
November,
attention,
okay.
we're on the
The
17th.
17th.
Objection.
So that's
Pay attention, it's a little
3-2.
difficult, it's a little confusing, though.
It isn't for anybody else here.
December,
Okay.
December 15th.
I move to accept the minutes of December 15th as written.
Madam
Excuse me,
Chair.
did I have a possibility to
second?
object?
Okay, I have a second.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of corrections. to
Discussion.
this. I have corrections for this.
Yeah.
One is a question that, on page 4, review policies on Board of Health incoming mail. The last sentence, that Mr. Warren thought the board members should have received a handout when they became new board members and would look into this. And my question, is there any update on that? Has something resulted from your search?
I believe you went down to see Tara. She's our town clerk, Tara Ward, and she told me, I explained to her that you may be coming down to look for your packet. Did you get your packet, KG?
No.
What packet are we
When
referring
you
to?
become a new board member, you get packets on the open meeting law. Did you
Not
get
open
yours,
meeting
Judy?
law yet, but has nothing to do with the parliamentary rules and regulations
Well,
that
that's
we were
what,
talking about.
that's what they give you. They give you a new member packet, and if you haven't gone down to
They
get
didn't
it-
give us any parliamentary, and then she says there's
Okay.
nothing of that
Then
kind.
we can bring that up, but that.
We can check
that's-
it
That's
again.
easy to
Okay.
check, but that shouldn't affect the
And
minutes, but by all means.
Page 5, we did talk about a temporary waiver for the grease traps, but I just read the title here. It says internal and external grease traps. Did we give the waiver for both internal and external? Is that true?
What are you referring to?
On the restaurant that we gave a blanket,
Yes, that was for
extension.
the external.
so the title says internal and external, or internal and external?
We were talking about both. That is correct.
So did we give any of those waivers for internal also?
No, you did that at the following meeting, or?
Right, but
Last
that,
meeting.
that was.
Nothing was done there, but discussion occurred. And to help out the new board members, I brought up both so you would understand the regulations. On fats, oils, and grease management, we call our FOG regulations. You'll see that also in other correspondence. So that's what was done.
So our waiver has been only for the external grease trap, is that
That
clear?
is, that is
That is
correct.
correct.
So that, I would suggest that the word internal be taken off from there, because the discussion never happened on the internal grease trap.
Internal?
Yeah, it says internal/external on the title there on
I
page
thought it
5.
brought it up in general discussion, what we're discussing. But whatever, we can look, I can look at it.
Because
Okay, so
this
we'll-
talks about the waiver
It's-
of that, and
KG,
I,
it's easy to remove. It's easy. No need to make it difficult. We'll
I-
remove it,
in the,
by all means.
Okay, so
in
we're
the
having,
same, in the same context, I needed some information. If I can get that approved through the board, I'll appreciate it. I was looking at the consumption of water in each of those restaurants that we have waived off. If they can get us some numbers, I'll appreciate it. Is that
I'm-
possible?
I didn't understand the request.
he's
I
looking
couldn't
for the
understand.
amount of water consumption used by the restaurants in town.
That, I'm not for sure if we could get, but I'm sure they could get that through the water meters. You know, we don't typically look at that. We look at the grease management and how much grease is produced. I did explain previously, I believe, that the water and sewer department does go out and check the internal and external grease traps, mostly internal, to tell if they're not maintaining. That's the whole purpose of that regulation. It's really not water use, it's grease management. Thank you.
I guess.
For the record,
I guess the state Title V regulations also has a 15,000 gallon per day regulations for grease trap requirement for the external ones.
No, that's your, what I would suggest, KG.
That's why I wanted to look at these
Yeah,
numbers and
Can
see
you
how.
and I make an appointment to meet?
We
The
can.
minutes
The
are on
reason
the
is,
table, and I
reason
figured
is
this
some
is-
of
we
these waived ones are owned by the town, and then if we can afford to do the grease trap, we should be able to, but let's take this as a
can
discussion
meet.
somewhere else. But I
Okay.
just,
let's move it to the next meeting and have a discussion of public forum rather than in an office. I think that's much better.
Well, I can
Because
explain
then
it
the
right now.
information is shared with the entire board
Well,
rather than
Madam
just
Chair,
one
I can
individual.
explain it right now. Title V requires a grease trap for food, for restaurants only. Our regulations address more than restaurants. So that's the difference, and when you get that 1,500,
When-
you're talking about the size of the tank they require.
Right,
But that's only for, if I may finish?
I
That's-
understand.
If I may finish, that's
Ma-
only for septic systems.
Right.
And
Ma-
there's not many restaurants on septic systems that are new. There's only one that has a new system, and that's the only one I know of. Every other restaurant that I know of, outside of one that's on an antiquated system, are on town sewer, just to help. It's that easy. I don't want to, there's no need to make all this
Mr.
difficult.
Oram, would you have listings of these that we could get in a spreadsheet format? Because I don't have
I
that
can tell you the
information. I
two.
mean, when we
No, I
go
can
into the
make it
office,
easy.
there may be stacks, and I know you want to make it easy by me having to come in the office, and I appreciate you
no, I
trying
was
to make it
offering-
easy. But the easiest thing is to give us what I have requested in the past, are spreadsheet summaries, so that we can be
And
informed.
Judy, if I can, I know you've asked for that in the past, but you know, that's resources, and we don't have those. I've explained that to the board, that we need additional personnel for all your requests. We don't have that personnel. In fact, we're limited to what we can do, and it's unfortunate, but I can easily say this. It's the Oregon Club and the Honeydew Donuts on Pond Street. See how easy that was? And it only took a minute, not even that, to explain Title V, and instead of having all these spreadsheets, which I agree with you, we should have down the road when we have additional funding for our personnel to do all this research. Right now, we don't, but I don't want to make this it sounds
I don't
like a
want to
debate,
go off,
and there's
I
no
don't
need
want
for
to
a
go off
debate.
topic
So
either.
Madam Chair, I
But it would
recommend
really be
that we do
very
that at
much
different
easier
time.
for you, I would think, to just do it in a
We have a
logical,
motion on the floor.
digital way rather than in a manual way.
Drop by, we'd be glad to
We
talk
had
to
a
you.
motion to move the
Yeah,
question,
is there,
correct?
did you move to?
Yes, he did, he
Okay, I
seconded.
second.
Okay, so we need a vote to move the question.
Yeah.
Those in affirmative?
Aye.
Negative?
Aye.
3-2? All right, and now on
I
the
abstain, madam,
acceptance of, you
Yeah, the
abstain?
abstaining is
abstain. I did not.
probably a better way to do it.
3-1?
3-1.
3-1-1.
3-1-1, yeah. So now the acceptance of the minutes, that has been.
Madam
Yes,
Chair, Laura just needs some clarification.
Oh, I'm
Three-
sorry.
Who were the three in favor?
I was a
For
favor.
December 15?
No,
Yep.
this is not, this is to move,
this was
this
to
is a
move the
motion to
question.
move the question.
Oh, the question, we're still on the question, I
No,
apologize.
that,
Now you
that
gotta
vote
get
has now
back.
been taken.
It
Now we
can
need
be
to go to-
confusing, and someone said, no, we were just not paying attention at this end of the
I
table.
didn't ask for comment.
That's very
but I
interesting.
I'm not
I know.
confused.
I'm
Okay,
not
so now
confused.
we're on to accepting the minutes as written.
Right.
And I have a first and second, so I will be taking a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
You're accepting it with no attachments?
Which one?
I
With
don't know.
attachments?
I don't even know which month we're talking.
December 5th
We're on
meeting, I'm
December
accepting.
15th.
We're on December 15th.
Oh.
We have a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Fine.
It's been discussed. We're now taking the vote.
You know,
on the
assuming
minutes.
that they were going to remove
There are
that,
no
the word
attachments.
internal off of that,
As
The
amended.
internal,
As
will
amended.
will come off.
There's no
Kate.
list
As
on
amended.
it.
With the word internal coming off.
Yes, as
Exactly.
amended.
And that'll be amended with the criteria that was requested attached to the minutes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I have 3 in the affirmative, negative,
Aye.
abstention?
Aye.
no,
Now you know you
I said
voted.
affirmative, yes, before.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
So
we
it's
know.
3-1-1.
It wasn't the meeting.
We got
Oh, he was
one-
not at the meeting.
Right, so I can't.
All right, we have one more set, and then we have a 7:40 that we're running late for.
Excuse me, I did not hear what you just said, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry?
I did not hear what you said. I was hoping you might
We have
repeat it.
we have another set of minutes for the 26th of January, and we have an appointment that is scheduled for 7:40 that we are already late for. So we need to move this quickly.
I move to accept the minutes of January 26, 2016 as written.
Do
Madam
I
Chair,
have a second?
Second.
I have a correction to that.
Okay.
It
Discussion, yeah.
doesn't say who moved the motion for the grease trap waiver, it doesn't say who seconded it in the minutes.
On the 26th?
On the 26th?
Yeah.
I have an additional comment. It has no list that is required by the open meeting
And that
law
will be added
attached.
as,
Excuse
the
me, I did
previous
not
one.
finish. Could I please finish my statement, Madam Chair?
If you remember.
I don't think you were recognized
We can
by
listen
the chair.
no, you aren't.
Well, there are lots of people who are not recognized,
am
including yourself
recognizing
just now.
Madam Chair,
So
if I
if
may-
it's
Yes,
just
it's
the
not.
policy for
Point of
me,
order.
then that is inappropriate.
if I may, just point of
I
order,
move
just,
to recess
oh, okay.
I
for 10
second.
minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will be in recess.
Excuse me? You didn't take anybody else's vote.
3 voted for.
Just so you know.
You only took
Can we quickly do the 27th of January, the minutes? I mean, the
26th.
26th. Sorry.
Now refresh my memory. Do we have a motion to accept
Yes,
and a
Yes.
second?
yes.
Yes,
We had discussion, KG
we had a
brought up
discussion.
Okay, and that's been settled?
the vote on the external grease traps didn't have a, who made the vote and who seconded it.
Right.
And I wanted to add that there are no additional amendments that are required by open meeting law on those minutes.
And that would be added, as with the other minutes, at your request. So I will move the,
So I move to accept the minutes as amended.
and I have a second. All those in favor?
Second, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
For one.
This sounds like it's working now. I
All
thought it
right,
was working
now we can
before.
go back to our agenda. The next thing on the agenda is animal control. Donna Walsh. Donna, you wanna come up to the,
Come on up, Donna, just move
Sure,
your
was
seat
yours
up. there.
working before?
You
we
want to
don't bite.
Don't, she has to sit. Donna, you want me to pass
I'm-
those up?
Madam Chair,
I was gonna.
Yes,
are we skipping the other item number 4 and then coming back to later?
we've
Policies
gone
and
through all the
procedures.
minutes.
Number 4, review and policies and procedures.
Oh,
So
I'm
is it-
sorry.
You said next on the item,
No,
so
I
we're gonna
wanted
come
to-
back afterwards.
Yeah, I wanted to get this, we kept her waiting, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna Walsh. I am the town's animal control officer for Ashland and Holliston, and the animal inspector for the Board of Health in both towns. The animal inspector's position is a state-appointed position. In Ashland, I am the only animal inspector, and in Holliston, I am the secondary animal inspector. They have one that does the primary quarantines and stuff. I gave everybody an overview of what my responsibilities are in the town, what I do for both the animal inspector and the animal control officer.
Does anyone have any questions for?
Oh, my question is that if you, on a long period vacation, that is there somebody else who takes care of your duties in Ashland?
As of right now, I am the only animal control officer in Ashland, part-time. I do have help. I have my son who volunteers. He's also certified. Which means that he has gone through Animal Control Officers of Massachusetts training. So he does get to do ride-alongs with me. If there's an occasional dog or something that I cannot get to right away, he can go do that, but very minimal that we send him out in the field. He does a lot of the handling of the dogs inside the kennel, walking the dogs, any heavy lifting.
Thank you for volunteering, that's a great job. The question is that, is he covered under the employee insurance here? That's going to be a problem, but we want to make sure that he's covered.
Well, we do run, just about everybody runs on volunteers. Is he covered under the insurance? I really don't know.
I
He's
know
just-
this town does not cover the
Yeah.
insurance for volunteers as such, I guess. Is
We
that right?
rely heavily on volunteers and always
I know,
have.
we do.
We
In
have to.
fact, yeah, I know. So it's a great job. The other question that I had was, I've not known that there was a position like this in this town for a long time. There was an email from Holliston, that's where
Yes.
prompted me to ask question. I understand that they had a wrong email ID, but is there a measure taken care of now? In order
Yes.
to avoid, if there is a mishap in the email, who would respond? Like, I don't want to be the one that's sitting on your head and say, hey, please call up this person and then take care of it, but I just want to make sure there is a process exists which will take, if there is a wrong email and then you are copied on it, would you be able to, or somebody be able to?
Are you talking about emergencies, KG?
No, I think this was a quarantine question that the Holliston have wanted to have
I
it.
can explain the
Yeah.
whole thing if you want the whole.
Yeah, give me a second. My concern was that it's next door, if there is a quarantine issue, that it might affect our situation here, because the same animal could be moving around and then things may happen. So that was the reason that I responded, and then I thought that we as a Board of Health did not do some work, so that's why I chased my email to Mark and then called him up and talked to him.
All right.
So
Donna,
because they had a wrong email ID, that she didn't get the message.
Yeah, Donna, would you explain how that works? How you're
Yes.
notified?
That particular situation, there was a lot of back and forth between the Department of Animal Health and myself, and there were emails and phone calls and messages. We played a little bit of phone tag and stuff. What the problem was that in Holliston, they have a primary animal inspector other than me. So that person, what I did was I took all of that information and I gave it to him. And then I followed up with the Board of Health to make sure that everything was done the way that it was. So when she continued to get, call me from the Department of Animal Health, I called the Board of Health and I said, do you need me to go out and do this? Because they need it done now. And they said, no, they had already talked to him and he was gonna take care of it. And that's why it went back and forth like it did, because I didn't go out and do it because it's really not my primary function in Holliston to do that. If it was here in Ashland, it would have been taken care of right away.
And the way you are contacted in Ashland?
Either if Laura gets any of the forms from the vet,
Yeah.
say a dog there's a dog bite, or if there's something that comes from the emergency room because a person has been bitten, they send that usually to the Board of Health. So what happens is, when that happens, she emails me the copy of it, and then I take that information and then I contact the person who owns the animal, and I go out and I do the quarantine.
And you also get your notifications from the police department?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. If we have let's say we have a bat in a house, I need to go out and remove that animal so that it can be tested, because it's now in somebody's primary residence. If it's in a basement or if it's in a garage, that's different. If it's in your home, I need to go right out, get the bat, and send it in for testing to make sure that it's rabies-free.
Right, the same with the raccoon.
Yep, if you have a raccoon and something has been bitten, we had a situation up on America Boulevard. We had a woman who was attacked by a fox. I went right up there. I happened to be in the area, but in my own car. So I went right up there. We got up there, and now I'm pulling up, and it's attacking the police officer, his feet. So we knew right away we had a big problem. So ran behind my car. I didn't have a chance to even get anything out, but that was okay, because I'd rather have it come after me because I'm vaccinated.
Right.
So I got the fox to go in a place where they could take care of it and put it down. And we had it tested, and it was positive.
Okay.
These reports of incidents, do they come to us? Are they required to be, or?
Yes.
Yes.
When was this America Boulevard incident happening?
Yeah.
The incident over, the wild animal incidents don't necessarily come through the Board of Health.
Oh.
Those are done by, if I go on a call and and there's been an exposure, I go direct from the scene to the animal hospital and we send it in for testing. I don't notify anybody unless it's a positive and they need to know, because there's been more than one person exposed.
But if there is someone injured by that wild animal, don't we receive a notice from the hospital that they've been treated?
You may, yes, yes.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
I'm glad my mic's working. I'm not sure if it was working earlier,
Which is working.
but it's working now. I'm not sure if
Yep,
it
I
was
can
earlier.
hear you.
So you mentioned your position is a state-appointed position. Could you expand a little bit on that? Because, I guess in my mind, I'm seeing that you're an agent basically for the Board of Health, but
The
it's
town, correct.
the
But-
town.
Yes,
So,
but the Department of Agriculture, the Division of Animal Health, is who are responsible for the animal inspectors. That's who, other
sorry?
than the town, that's who we answer to. That's who provides our training. That's the state is the one that mandates that each town have an animal inspector.
so you're the town's animal
Yes.
inspector, and the position's funded by the state. Is that, you say it's a
It's-
state-appointed?
In Ashland, it's
So-
all
so-
rolled into one job. So it's the animal control officers paid salary that it's just part of the job. It's not separate.
I apologize, but I'm still confused. You said it was a state-appointed position.
It is. The state does not provide funds. The state mandates that the town has to have an animal inspector.
So when you say appointed, it's not like they hire and fire you? It's,
I'm appointed by the Board of Health.
oh, you're appointed by this board?
Madam
So,
Chair,
so
it should
similar,
be
I'm
not-
sorry,
just-
everyone else has had a chance, and
No,
I
just
believe
it's
that I'm being picked
nomination
on.
is all I wanted to say. What it is, the Board of Health will see this in a month, that's all. And you'll see that.
Board of Health will
the
see
Board
what?
of
I'm
Health
sorry.
will see the papers that come through from the state to nominate your animal inspector. The Board of Health will vote to nominate your animal inspector, and then it gets approved, as Donna just said, at the state level. I just want to clarify, that's all, make it easier.
Again,
Thank you for making it easy. We got,
Ms.
once
KG.
again, like KG, was not aware of that. So my second question, it has to go with the rabid fox. And in your opinion, in Village of Americas, if there's one animal, is it likely that there's going to be other issues in that
We didn't-
particular
we did
area?
not
That's a
have-
very densely populated area, so.
Correct, it is. We did not have any further incident up there. We were watching for it. This was months ago. It happened in 2015. It was not recent. It
And
was just given as an example.
And I believe, I guess, just as a comment, I think it would be really good that the Board of Health does know because of other tracking, and it's
Yeah.
just one of those health things. So
Yeah.
is there a form, or is there a way to
I could
kind of
notify
channel it? Like,
Sure,
okay, perfect.
we could do that.
And then
Let me just grab my water.
oh, here, I've got an extra bottle. I'm we're all in this together. Thank you, I'm sorry. You take your time. I can relate completely.
Okay.
So I was just wondering about training. I'm actually quite impressed by, your willingness to kind of grab out there. And I think when I saw that email also, so I thought, oh, we have an animal officer. I didn't know this. So I think I Googled you. I saw a picture with a truck. So I think it said
Yes.
Ashland something. So where is it? You have a vehicle that's a town vehicle?
I do. However, unless I'm on a call, actively on a call, it stays at my house because it's a 24-hour shift.
And is that part of a fleet of some sort, like with the police department, the fire department, or is it?
Under the town manager's office.
Okay.
It's usually a
I-
hand-me-down vehicle from one of the other departments.
Correct.
I have one more question, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
KJ?
If there was a rabies incident there, the local population would know about it, or they would not be notified?
If there was a rabies incident with the
Like, for
Board of
example, the
Health,
Village of America, if there is one, then would you notify the residents there is a situation here, and then maybe they can test it out, or?
correct, yes, we could
Okay.
do that.
And again, thank you for having your son volunteer, appreciate it.
Yes, yes, we like him a lot. He helps us a great deal, and he has for a long time.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome, thank you.
We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Donna. Okay.
With the board's permission, I'd like to jump to number 6 and then go back to 4 afterwards. This was the Ashland Convenience sale of tobacco to a minor. Joseph?
Hi, I'm Joseph Guida on Ashland Convenience Store. And I got on December 22nd, I got the warning letter. I think you do have a copy of it.
Mark, you have
Did we get those?
Yeah, they're in your book.
Yeah, they should be in your books.
Yep.
Joseph was able to provide us more information than the federal government was, so thank you. We didn't even know when it happened, to be honest with you. We knew it was sometime in December.
So that was on December 22nd when I get that letter, and actually it says I have violation on December 10th around 3:25 p.m. And when I get this letter, actually I try to get to my camera system to look exactly what happened, because the letter doesn't explain anything except I just have a violation on that day and that time. It did not explain, like, exactly what happened. So I tried to do this, but I couldn't get to any information on the camera system, because between December 10 and December 22nd, which I get the letter, I think I did get the letter after December 22nd too, or maybe a couple of days or something. And that's 14 days, and my camera systems only give me like between 10 and 11 days backup.
Yeah.
So I was not able to get any information. But anyway, by asking all my employees, I find, and by looking at my record for the hours, I kind of find out who's working after 3. Between 3 to 3:30 is, I do have like a changing shift from the girl, she opened in the morning, and the person is closing at night. So I was able actually to find out who actually sell that minor. But like I said, I still, I wish if I can know more as a proof, like, you know, what happened exactly, you know, who came in, you know, more details than this. But I won't be able to, I wasn't able to get any more information.
And
But
what was-
anyway,
What was your approach to handle it, Joseph?
what I did actually, what's the warning letter say, it tells me to take some steps and get back to the state and tell them what I'm gonna do about it. So I did actually, I did write a letter on January, and I sent on January 7th, and you probably have a copy of that too. And I did 3 things there. They give me a website to go on. Of course, I did talk to the employee. She did this, or actually, the one, we think she did that. I think she did that, because that's what was her time there. She does not remember, or she does not know exactly what happened, except I just show her the letter and tell her that was her time. So that's for that. On January 26th, I got a letter back from the state saying they did actually take they already received my letter back to them. On January 20, I sent here was a free retail tobacco training on the board here, on Ashland here. And my daughter came for the liquor store, and my manager, Nassim, came for the convenience store. So that's on January 20. On the help, actually, her name is Mariam Assad, and I do have a letter from her here. I'm probably gonna show it to the board. And I did hire her in October, and she's not only a friend of my wife from the church, I know her and I know her husband from the church, but she's very good help, actually. And I just couldn't believe she did that, because she was the manager. Her and her husband, they owned the franchise for 7-Eleven between 2011 and 2015. That was in Bellingham location. And she's been very good. She's been very good help. She's taken her job seriously. She's in time. She's nice to the customer. I mean, I have no complaint at all on her. And I was very surprised for just getting that letter, especially with her. She's been so many training programs with 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is a big company. They have even their own people to go there and they check. She didn't even explain to me how they do it. You know, when 7-Eleven people go and check all their stores, they usually get the employee name and last name. That just for more evidence. And the second day, they call the store and they tell if they pass or they didn't pass. So they have kind of proof, you know, what's happening. And I wish the state do that, so that way it will be easy for me or for another retailer to find out what's going on exactly. But she's, I don't know, her excuse, it was just a changing shift. She said maybe I did it through changing shift, it was quick. And she wasn't feeling good that day, and she related to family problem. I do have a letter from her, actually. I don't know if you'd like to have a
Do you want to make a copy, Laura?
If you want,
Well, you lucked out, Joseph.
I can make.
I'm sorry?
You lucked out, because we cannot fine you for something that the state did, and we didn't hear about it until after the fact.
Okay,
Except for my
So
agenda.
we can't fine you for that.
okay,
And that doesn't count against you as far as our rules and regulations.
okay. That's, I mean, I'm here just to explain,
but
and if
we-
you
I
cannot
wanted
find
you
me,
to know-
that's good, but, I mean, I'd like to cooperate anyway. And when Mark told me he does not have the letter, so I made a copy of it and then bring it to him, because I'm the type of guy, I just want to follow the rules no matter what, and I'm not gonna deny it. If it's happened, it's happened, but but I'm still believe the system has to give us more information.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, if I took this as an evidence, I mean, I like to make sure it's my store. I mean, it's not, I mean, they just tell me, okay, somebody stopped by, you guys sold to minor, okay? I mean, who just stopped by, how it happened? I mean, I need more evidence. If I start to defend myself, I need to, or I actually defend my store, my employee, I need to have evidence. This is exactly what happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but in the meanwhile, I don't see any proof on the paper it happened, except they say that, you know?
I would like to ask a question.
Yes.
So
Yes, Judy.
why do we believe that they were not able to provide you evidence? I'm actually wondering why we couldn't, because our regulations don't say that we have to be doing a compliance check. So if a compliance check was passed or you failed, or you or anyone else failed a compliance check, I'm trying to figure out, did they give you any explanation? Is there any explanation why the confirmation of the event wasn't similar to the confirmation we received?
The state is habitually late in getting information to us.
Federal, it was federal.
I'm sorry, federal. We have had, in the past, 6 and 8 months go by before we were notified that there was a sale.
Other thing, if you,
Yes,
maybe,
KG.
that they have said that no action required from our part. So why are they notifying us if there's no action required from our part?
Well, let me take a look now.
From the,
From the state?
Are they saying no action required
no
by the local?
action on your part is necessary.
That's being written to the site manager, is what you're reading? What letter are you on, KJ?
Ashland Board of Health, their letter, MHOA's letter.
Oh, basically what MHOA is saying is that it was under the authority of
Letter
the
is to
FDA.
inform you of the violation. No action on your part is necessary.
We cannot take any action.
Yeah, no, I have that one here.
This was done by the federal government.
Right, right.
Okay, we cannot take any action and hold him accountable for a fine for the town.
We cannot take action because our laws don't permit us to take action, or
Well, I have a, if I may, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead,
To
Mark.
answer that question, I have a call into the FDA, and I'm gonna follow up with Cheryl Sabara. As it relates to non-criminal, we're way past the time when we can issue a ticket. But as it relates to the first offense within our regulations, I'm hoping that, you know, we can count this as a first offense, even though it wasn't under our program. So I've made a call to the federal government, hoping they'll respond soon. And as well as, I'm gonna probably call Cheryl Sabara to see if she knows of other communities in Massachusetts and how they handle this if they had local regulations.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have
I
two
just want to make,
questions.
not that I want him to be accountable for anything, but I just want to get more clarification on it, that's
Right.
all. Because here we have something cited by the government, they don't provide us like what we have, you know, we have the
This has
date,
been a
time, and
problem in the past as well, KG, this is not new. They
who
are
do we,
very-
who do we address this one to?
FDA. And Mark has contacted them.
I have a
Anyone else
question.
have questions for Joseph?
I don't have a question for him, but I have a question why we got a letter from the Massachusetts Health Officers Association. Do they routinely communicate with the FDA? And it's just why that particular organization informed us in a letter?
Mark?
Madam Chair, I have no idea why they are the first place to respond to, but I will say that they represent a tobacco control region of the whole state. But, you know, why they're involved and we don't get involved first is beyond my knowledge.
I like to ask, Mark, didn't we have the same, in the same month in December, I think, the town?
I was trying to remember when the town.
That was
did
actually
theirs, yeah.
probably a week. from-
Could have been.
I think, and I think, I do remember you stopped by and
I
you told,
congratulated you.
you told me you graduated, then I get that letter from the state, and then,
I went in and said, congratulations, our tobacco control program was through here, and You didn't sell to a minor. I didn't know you had this other situation going on.
Moral of the story is don't go and congratulate people.
You probably didn't either at the beginning,
I
so
didn't know,
let's
I
let it
didn't
be,
know.
but,
I mean,
you know, you will get further notice as soon as we can get information off their website or from their call. As soon as I can find knowledge, I will let the board know as well if we can take action as it relates to first offense within so many years. I know non-criminal we cannot do.
Do you mind I mean, nice one here,
Question.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
like to know, sorry,
Go ahead,
Mary.
Joe. No,
Okay, I just like to know for Ashland Convenience Store, when the last time we have a violation? I mean, I don't even
Hold the
remember.
file if you want, it's up
I believe
to.
it was December.
No.
Oh, for when you sold, I'd have to pull the file.
Okay.
I believe it
Probably
was the FDA
few,
that,
many years ago, I mean, because I cannot remember
Oh, I'm
myself.
sorry, I thought you meant the
Yeah,
last
I
time
know.
they did the inspections.
No, I mean the last time I do have a violation, because I don't remember when last time.
yeah, we
Which is
researched.
good.
We
Which is, that's
think it
mean
was
I haven't got
2012.
anything, huh?
We believe it was 2012. You know how fast the years go
2012?
by.
Okay.
But we
so-
researched the file when this first was reviewed, and I believe we saw 2012, and I believe it was the FDA. And as your daughter and your employee learned, FDA will continue to visit you. They may not
Yes.
go to all the stores that sell tobacco in Ashland. They tend to go to the one that's sold, and they continue. So you're not being singled out, it's just because now you're on their list of a violator who violated once, so they're gonna continue to check. So, you know, once I get more information, I'd be glad to relay it to you
Okay.
as how their program works, so that you can have that same information to relay to your employees.
If I remember correctly, that was, his daughter was at the liquor store, and she
Maybe.
brought her manager in with him, and he was the one that had sold.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Another-
Oh,
I have another
Anything else,
question.
KG?
I have another question. We had that a training program, was that free of cost for us, for the Ashland town, or?
Yes, there's another regional program, that's our tobacco regional program. It's with the towns of Natick and other towns surrounding us, Framingham and so forth. So that Marlboro, Hudson, there's about 9 of us. In that program, we receive, the way the program's running is through the Metro West Health Foundation. They receive funds yearly from the hospital sale in Framingham. So instead of the hospital doing community outreach, the charge has been sent to the Metro West Health Foundation. And they in turn send out grants per request to surrounding communities within that same outreach of the hospital. So Metro West Health Foundation has issued a 3-year grant to our Regional Tobacco Control Program, and that's the group that provided the training. But we hired Sarah McClogan, the person that signed the bottom of the list here, to do the training. She and our Regional Tobacco Control person were to do the training together, but our regional person could not make it that day.
So last time, January 20th that we had, we invested some money in it, town of Ashland invested money? Or
We invested no money, we just invested time
time? Okay.
to get the
All right.
grant, to work with the communities. We
So
invested time.
that program was also free for us?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Joseph.
So,
I
okay.
wanted to comment on the, it's not a question for you. On the attachment to the Mass Health Association, it appears that they have a good program here to compile data. Probably would be a much more efficient way for us to do it, saving time, saving money in the long run. So possibly we could investigate their data program rather than us having paper files.
Okay, going back to number 4, review of policies and procedures.
Madam
Mark?
Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Ed, that
if
was
you'd
you.
like. Since I brought this to the board some time ago, and there was some discussion as to what the legality of it, so I gave it to the town attorney, and over the period of about a month or more, she reviewed it. And I'm gonna read into the record her letter, which everybody has a copy of here, but just so it's on the record. Lisa Mead, Town Council, February 1st, 2016. References made to the above captioned matter. In that connection, you have requested an opinion regarding the legality of the proposed Board of Health operating policies and procedures. I have closely reviewed each section against applicable state laws, including, but not limited to, the open meeting law, election laws, town bylaws, and the town charter. Additionally, I have researched prior decisions of the Attorney General's Municipal Law Unit. I have identified only one problematic provision, specifically Section 4, giving the Board of Health authority to call a special town election in order to fill a vacancy that is in conflict with state law. Under General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 11, in the event of a vacancy at the Board of Health, the remaining members of the Board of Health must give written notice of the vacancy to the Board of Selectmen within 1 month of the vacancy. The Selectmen with the remaining members must then give 7 days' notice and fill the vacancy by roll call vote. If the remaining members of the Board of Health fail to give the Selectmen notice of the vacancy, the Selectmen shall fill the vacancy with a person who is registered voter in the town and who will perform the duties of the office until the next election. To bring the proposed operating policies and procedures in line with state law, I recommend deleting the second and third sentences of the first paragraph of Section 4. Otherwise, the board may adopt these procedures. So based on that, I make a motion to accept the policies and procedures handbook, manual, I'm
Good.
sorry.
Can I,
Effective February, or when
Making a
we
motion.
pass it.
can I?
Then he's gonna
This
Uh,
was-
ram it through again.
Before you
Okay,
run through
we
them.
have, we have a motion, let's get a
I
second.
understand, that's why I wanted to check if
Do I have a
the,
s-
the fellow member could stop from making a motion and then listen to me first before the motion be made.
I made a
If you
motion.
can.
it
Yes,
has to be
because we're gonna
It
seconded.
has
move
to
the
be
motion
seconded,
and ram
then
it
has
through.
to go to discussion.
Right.
Oh, so you can ram it through again, okay.
That's uncalled for.
That's uncalled for,
Yeah, this-
Judy.
Well, that is what's happening.
No,
This is what's happening, it's uncalled for
So we
what's
have
happened
a-
so far.
You second the motion?
Okay.
Okay, discussion.
My questions, there was one document that was prepared by me based on your previous document with some questions on it. And I needed some answers for those that had not been done. I believe Judy also had sent a list of questions with corrections. You wanted it in writing, and then we gave it in writing. Give me a second, let me finish it. And my tenure here began in last May. I am not privy to any discussion that has happened prior to that about a procedures guide or procedures manual. Was there one discussion? The next question that I have is, did the board ever look for changing it if there was one existing policy? And was there a discussion in the board to make a change? The third thing is that how does one get to the town attorney without the board approval? Do we need a board approval to send messages to town attorney?
I can answer some of them. Jim. The second one, no, there was no policies and procedures, so you didn't miss out on anything. This was new. And I believe, that at least I passed on all the things that the distinguished member Margulis passed on to us and asked for the town attorney to review what she had done. And she found no merit in anything that the member had suggested, or questions that they had. At least that's what was relayed to me. And as far as, I don't know if yours were passed on to the town attorney also, but what I would point out is that on section 3, there is a procedure to amend. So if there was anything that you wanted to change, or any member today or in the future wanted to do to change this, there's a policy, there's a procedure for doing it. The entire thing can be negated over time, or as a body, as far as I'm concerned. It can be accepted, it can be rejected, or it can be amended. And there is a procedure in this document for doing that.
Now, attorney has given a brief description of what she feels about it. And I don't see anything mentioned about her corrections or my corrections that have been reviewed by her. And how do I make sure that it is reviewed by her?
Well, you could take her word for it.
Whose word? She has not mentioned it. That
She
she didn't
said that she
specifically say
reviewed.
that the corrections mentioned by Judy or myself has been addressed.
Unfortunately, she didn't address directly anything that either one of you had said or suggested. What she did do is to look at what was presented to her for review. She found nothing wrong with it.
Okay, the policies and procedures that's written out as of what you have presented, it also states about parliamentary process that needs to be adopted. And I haven't gotten a single document which
Madam Chair,
enumerates the parliamentary procedures
I
that
know-
has been adopted by this
I know
board.
KG, but, you have to do some homework yourself. The Roberts Rules of Order and parliamentary procedures are available to anybody in any library.
I
online.
understand.
So
Let's,
you can read it.
Excuse me,
Understand it yourself.
I'd like to hear KG finish his question.
I understand the Roberts rule to some extent, but I have used it before, I've done that. But when you name it as parliamentary procedure, I thought that's available here separately, that there may be certain portions of it may be adopted by us as part of the Roberts Rule or the entire Roberts Rule. And there are various versions of the Roberts Rule. Do we know which version is being adopted by us?
Where is their parliamentary procedures? I
It's
thought.
mentioned in one of those couple of places, I guess. It says parliamentary procedures
That-
adopted,
that
but I
is
don't know
not-
what they
That
are.
is not Robert's rules, parliamentary procedures.
I didn't notice that. Can you point out exactly where you saw that?
I think I did mention it in my document.
I
otherwise-
mentioned it in my document.
But do you see it in here?
My point is, concerning all of that, is that if the town attorney looked at it from a legal perspective, your document, that doesn't mean that it is a functioning document that will do the best for us in terms of representing the public health needs of our citizens. So by delegating certain things to the health agent, and contrary to state law requires us to make health policy and health judgments. And only in certain times can we delegate that to an agent of ours. And as I continue to question, don't believe we actually have an agent. So all of this then becomes problematic. The health agent works as part of the consortium of the development office, and therefore they are working, the health agent works for the town manager, not for us, as it's been defined in state law. So I have some fundamental issues that would not be necessarily legal issues, but procedural issues. I also question why on some occasions, like tobacco regulations, it's recommended that we go to Cheryl Sabaro because she has an expertise in the functioning of a Board of Health. And in other things, there's this choice to go to a generalist of municipal law who really does work under the direction of the town manager, Lisa Mead. So I wonder why there was not the choice to go to someone who has published opinions on things like this. Cheryl Sabara has a bunch of things that she has actually shared with other boards concerning items like this. I actually have copies of those.
Madam Chairman, I have no objection to running this by her also. We can table this for further review. Like I said, I put this together as a suggestion from a member of the Board of Selectmen. It's a basic copy of what they use and what they've used since 2009. It's been reviewed by the town attorney. I find no objections, but if there is some suggestion that it needs further review, the entire purpose of this was to try to find a way to get business done. As the member mentioned, our purpose here is to assist the town of Ashland. I think that we get tied up in an awful lot of this minutia, and I thought that this particular simple document could cut through some of that so that we could work better as a body, as a group.
Madam
Because
Chair,
If
That
I
was
may.
my reason.
If I may,
Mark?
if you can
if
hold
I
on.
can
One
just
moment.
help with a couple points. First point is Cheryl Sabara will make it known to the board, it needs to go back to your town attorney. So you're going in a cycle. She will not act as our town attorney. She's made that very clear in the past. The other note I just want to make, I keep hearing this, and I think there's some misunderstanding about Robert's rules. Robert's rules are part of parliamentary procedure. I just want to make, you can look on any website to find that out. And I just clarified it again. I'm saying, wait a minute, where it's the same thing. Robert's rules is how you conduct a meeting under parliamentary procedure. Just want to make that clear. You can look it up on your own if you wish. It's on plenty of websites. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Comment?
Yes,
I know,
KJ.
Ed, you have done yeoman work on it, but my questions are only inconsistencies that exist within the system, so that needs to be looked at it, so that we need to streamline whatever we are making policies to make sure there is no inconsistencies within itself. One of the example that if I can refresh my memory with what I had written about the chairman's duties, there was some inconsistency that I pointed out, that, what you say is reasonable, but that inconsistency needs to be removed. So I think it's written up in my document. I wish attorney takes a specific look at it and then does it. Doesn't matter which attorney it is. And I would still prefer the Board of Health attorney, Cheryl Sabaro, to look at it, because she has expertise in the Board of Health legal issues rather than the other person. Other person looks at the
But
municipalities.
Cheryl is
generally.
not going to look at it.
I understand. Let's ask her, bounce it off, and if she doesn't want to look at it, that's a different fine. But let us hear from her saying that she doesn't want to look at it. that'll be better. That gives a confidence saying that at least we have done our job of asking
Yes,
for a
sir.
second opinion. The other thing that I want to say, that when you say parliamentary procedure incorporates Robert's rule, it's not the entire rule, or is it only part of it, or is there something beyond the Robert's rule that exists in the parliamentary procedure? So when you make a reference to certain things, that we need to get a document out there, so your document makes a reference to parliamentary rules, and I'd like to get that specifically spelled out as an addendum or an attachment, so that we know what they are. Because there could be certain things we may not be adopting it, like any other parliamentary functions may use it.
Well, as I said before, my sole reason for doing this was to try to get something done. I don't like arguing about these particular picayune subjects. I like to actually work and accomplish something. And I understand what you're saying, and that's why that section on 3 I thought was workable, because if there were additions or changes that we could make, we could review it, and if there was something that didn't fit with the way that we do business, or something we thought that could be amended and made better, there was a procedure for doing that. And like I said, my sole purpose of this is try to speed the process.
I
Can
may.
I make a suggestion?
Can I make one statement before I go? I took upon myself to get into the Charter Review Committee because I found there are a lot of inconsistencies and then ambiguities in the rules, and we wanted to get rid of those ambiguities in this time. So the same principle I'm adopting here, so that when we are doing this, let's make a thorough document and then get it cleared out, so that we don't want to keep amending this document 10 times in a year, or in 3 years we don't want to amend it. So we just want to make sure it is clean enough so that future boards can use it effectively and then perform their duties better.
Well, I agree with I'm sorry. I
Right,
agree
go
with part of
ahead.
that, but at the same time,
You need
look how long
someplace
it
to
took us to get the minutes done. I think if we accept this, then we can amend it, and we can bring this subject up later. This is just guidelines, you know?
I would definitely agree with you in all senses, except items that come on the agenda are being put back because of one or the other reason.
True,
So
but we've
every
had this for a
time.
long time.
So these are rules by which we are trying to govern ourselves.
Right.
And regulations that we make are also dependent on what rules that we govern ourselves. So it affects the public health quite a bit. So let's make it very clear and safe enough to use it for longer term, rather than just rushing in soon.
Well, Madam
I
Chair,
would
one more
appreciate
thing then.
Yes,
Is
Ed.
there something, can you specifically, we've had this for a long time, can you address those now?
I did. I
No,
did
can
give you in
not?
writing.
May I
That's why I
speak,
gave it to you.
Madam
Can
Chair?
you do it now?
You wanted an
Madam Chair,
agreement.
may I
Wait a
speak?
minute.
I gave it to you in writing. I can go through one by one and by looking at my
I can
document.
also.
So do you want to do that now, or you want to go through that?
No, you do not want to do that now.
That's why I thought probably you
Do
can
we
take a
wanna
look at
table
it
this
and
to
then
the
come
next
back with some
meeting?
responses.
We have a choice.
Madam-
We can either table this to the next meeting, or we can vote on it, pass it, and then amend it at the next meeting.
Madam
would-
Chair, I would like to have an opportunity to speak also.
Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you. First, I appreciate Ed's relaxed approach to considering this. And yes, I know that I have looked at KG's items. I have extensive items, which at the last 2 meetings, actually it was the one previous, I indicated that I had a lot. I sent it in an email at the meeting prior to that to say that we've had this document, but we haven't even brought it to a form where we could discuss it. And it's that failure of us having meetings on a regular basis that has put us in this behind the 8 ball here, that we're trying to play catch-up. And so I ask that we put that aside, and that we look at this in a methodical fashion, section by section, and identify it. My basic premise, which was not included in the minutes that were adopted without any amendments, basically, is that I pointed that out at the very first meeting when this is distributed, that the Board of Selectmen works as a different body than the Board of Health. The Board of Health being a regulatory body, being described in the Mass General Law extensively as having lots of responsibilities, is different than a Board of Selectmen, which works as hiring an agent, the town manager, to do the administrative work on their behalf. the state law is very clear that boards of health do the administrative aspect, and it is only through the health agent's eyes, feet, arms, that, and delegated opportunities that we function. So to use that document, I believe that the fundamental premise in many of those sections needs to be looked at considerably, because I think the document that is being used as a template comes from a different perspective and from a different thing. So I once again ask for the opportunities for us to go through section by section and look at it.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Ed.
just my last point. I did point that out to the town attorney. She did go through the entire document section by section with that in mind, with your suggestions in her other hand, and she came up with a different conclusion. So if this still is, I'm perfectly willing to table this to the next meeting if it's gonna cause, the idea was not to cause a problem, the idea was to make things easier.
Exactly.
Is getting too lost in the weeds right now, so perhaps we should, I don't know, I could ask the health agent this, but perhaps we should send it back to Lisa. Maybe she could have a meeting with us. I don't know how to proceed from this point.
I would be willing to have a special meeting just to discuss policies.
I should think
I
that
don't
we should
have any
have an
problem with that.
expert that you would accept, though. You didn't accept what the
The town
attorney has
attorney.
said, so, I mean, I'm just trying to find some way to make this work. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I would really would like to have a discussion section by section. You know, there were things that the attorney has said that, in my presence, that I think are attorneys versus practical application of rules and regulations.
I have
just-
another idea. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but perhaps you could meet with her, and you could go over it section by section, because, you know, I don't feel the need to myself, but if you do, I understand. and
Well, I
perhaps you
believe
should
that
meet
it's
with her.
discussions that the board themselves should,
Well,
the
then you could-
members themselves should be discussing. This isn't a matter of,
Well, then the members could individually go to her and discuss it. I mean, like I said, I already have, so I don't need to. I'm happy with it. And if we want to table it until you've talked to the town attorney and been convinced that this is fine,
I'm not asking for her permission to have different procedures. Just because a procedure is maybe not illegal, it may not be in the best interest. And it's up to our judgment as an
That's-
independent board to determine that.
but
So,
that's what we determine by vote. I'm sorry.
so I'm just recommending that we discuss it as a group, section by section, which we did not do with the minutes, and I found that to be very problematic.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Yes, KJ.
Ed,
Quickly.
thank you for accepting to table it. That's one good thing to do. The other thing is that I can offer to sit with you to go through my questions so that you can clarify what was in your mind when you wrote it up. So that way, maybe 50% of my questions may be answered and done away with it. And then if she wants to sit with you and then some of the time and then go through it, and maybe both of you can modify it to come back with a relevant document to work with so that it stays as a good document for future use. And
Maybe the
I'm
three
willing
of
to
us could
accept it to
have a meeting, the three of us could have an open meeting and discuss it.
Mark?
Madam Chair, in speaking with the town attorney, the problem is scheduling with the board. She spoke with me as well and said these were in proper order and ready for approval. That's what she said to me.
Right.
And I asked if she could be at this meeting. She could not. So she said that if it's scheduled to her schedule, so we would have to check, then that would be different. But that was for other issues. She would like to discuss the open meeting law with all the board members. And she would like to do that at a meeting that she can make. So that's why that was taken off the agenda, because she wants to meet with this board to make sure you're very understanding of the laws related to the open meeting law. But as it relates to this, she did say it's ready for approval, but it's up to the board. I'm only telling you what she said.
Could we clarify, what does it mean, ready for approval?
She reviewed
That
it.
appears
Sorry.
to me that Ms. Mead is
Okay.
recommending her opinions as to our personal procedures. That to me is like imposing her personal opinions as to policies and procedures, which are
She
not
is-
legal documents.
She is an attorney hired by the town, and that is her qualification. We are not qualified to
Determine
write a
policies and
document.
procedures?
Yes, we can determine policy and procedures, but they have to be approved by town council before we can enact them.
That is
This
correct.
has been improved.
So, I guess what I'm trying to say again is that an attorney looks at it from a legal perspective. I would like us as members of this board to look at it as a functioning perspective. I mean, I can go through right now and make some things. There are many things in here that delegate some of our activities to the health agent. And I would like us to discuss why we're delegating some of the things that the state law gives us the specific oversight on.
Part of the reason that things are delegated to the health agent is he's the one that is educated to do this. We are not. We are citizens. We may have some expertise in some fields, but he is the health agent
Who advises us,
who advises us, yes.
but for
Madam
him to
Chair,
make independent
if I
decisions.
can-
We're going into the weeds here. I'm not
Well,
recommending that we go into the
I don't suggest we go
weeds.
into the weeds, but I think it does need, maybe it's getting late, so maybe
Absolutely.
2 minutes
If-
is all I need. 2 minutes, if I may?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. History-wise, boards of health years ago didn't have health agents. And they realized as they meet on on a regular basis, but not every day, that someone had to make a decision for the board when they cannot meet. So that created the health agent position as allowed by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 31, and also allows this board to choose that person. What has occurred over the past 10 years in the state of Massachusetts, and especially in Ashland, is charter review. They realize, and I think I said this at the last meeting, that human resource needs, there's a certain criteria for that, just like there's a criteria for someone to fill my position. That criteria is to be educated and know the federal laws as it relates to human resources. And they realized at the previous town meeting, when they approved the charter, that this position that I hold would have to be both under town management as well as under the Board of Health. And it's been like that since that previous town meeting. And it functions that way based on what I just said. So there's my 2 minutes of
Thank you, Matt.
overview. Thank you.
I would like actually KG
So
as a
I've-
member of the charter committee to clarify for me. I've read the charter and there is no such statement that it's that way. It basically says that the health agent is hired in conjunction with the Board of Health, but the job description for the health agent that the town manager has put in place and the way it functions through the development office is that the health agent functions and it reports, and I've even actually requested recently what even the procedure is for evaluation.
Judith,
the
we need
health-
to,
but
we
the
need
health
to
agent-
curtail this.
But the health agent, and the other thing I wanted to read
No,
was
we need to
actually,
curtail this. We are running out of time, and we do not have even gone through part of
so
our
will we
agenda.
continue this
So we
discussion
will
at the
just-
next
At the
meeting?
next meeting, yes.
Yeah,
I'm
Madam Chair, just a
concerned that I
point of
just
order.
don't want it to be moved again like the minutes were.
There
Are
was,
we-
Motion.
are we
there was a
accepting this?
motion made and
And it was
seconded.
So
So
either
we will-
vote it or you withdraw it.
What was the motion? I'm sorry.
There was a motion made and seconded to
We've been
accept this.
discussing the motion of accepting these policies and procedures. So either take a vote on it, or it's withdrawn by the initial.
Like I said, my purpose in this was to try to make things work easier, make the board function better.
May
I would
I
suggest that
request
we-
the honorable member to table this one,
I would suggest that
please?
we cast the vote on it,
Okay.
and then make the changes as needed in your, section 3.
Okay.
If
I'll
your
take my-
intention
will
to
take-
make the board function better, there's nothing in here that I believe that's
I
going
will
to
take the
accomplish
vote now
that.
for those,
May I
Approve- no, we've
request-
had the
May I,
discussion.
no, may I request the honorable board member to table it, please?
I request that also.
I will table it.
You will table it?
I'll table it till our next
All right,
meeting.
table to the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, I
All right,
appreciate it.
now-
It's a point of order, Madam Chair. It's Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 30.
Okay.
Yes,
so-
which I
Section
would have read
31.
right here, which does
Old and new
talk to that
business,
Okay, thank you,
delegation.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman, I'm
Yes.
sorry,
have to
unfortunately,
go.
I have to leave soon. I wanted to just
I do
address
too.
something that came to my attention in an email. It's very, very quick, it won't take a moment. I wasn't getting emails, I didn't know about this until it was changed. There was a question by Judith Margulis about the minutes from the Cadillac Paint Working Group. It is not, it is
Is that
a
on our
research.
our agenda?
I'm asked the chairman if I could inform you I'm giving you information that you asked for. I have to leave in a few minutes. This is not a advisory working group. This is a research working group. We were charged in 2005. The focus of our group was to research the history of the site, explore possible uses for the site if the town required it, gathering data about known past contamination, explore possibilities for grants and other funding. We gave a one report in 2006. We do not take deliberations, make votes. There's no set attendance. We do not give advice, make recommendations, so therefore we are not a public body. So we did not take minutes. Many times the working group was me. So just so there's no,
I understand
you know
that.
what I mean? I just to clarify that, because there was a request for minutes. There are no minutes.
So you don't meet as a group?
Well, yeah, we do sometimes meet as a group, as a working group, as a research group, not a public body. That's it. You can look in state law.
Move to adjourn. 'Cause we'll never get
With that, I have to leave. I'm sorry. Okay.
We'll see you.
Is that gonna?
I have to go pick up. my
He
wife.
tabled
No,
it to
I
the next meeting.
understand that. Talking about moving forward.
Oh, yes.
Are we going to move forward or are we not? Because otherwise, I'm gonna move to, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, I have one thing that I wanted to bring up. It was recommended by a couple of committees in the town, a couple of boards, as a matter of fact, to have a retreat for us, run by a professional. It would be provided in a location in town. They would provide both breakfast and lunch, and it would give us a chance to hack a lot of these things, work a lot of these things out
We could
without
discuss these policies.
being at each other's throats in a
Public
pleasant
forum.
environment where we can sit and talk. And we don't have to worry about Robert's rules and parliamentary procedures, we can just talk.
So this would not be considered an open meeting?
I would think it
It
would
would
have
not
to
be,
be.
no.
I would think it would have to be.
Well,
I don't
then
thi- I don't
won't
think we can meet
I
and-
won't do it if I can't speak freely.
You can speak freely, and that's the whole idea with the treat. The selectmen have used it many times, as
Right.
have some of the other boards.
But if it's an open meeting, there are minutes and recordings and videos, then I can't speak freely.
No, there is none of that. It is off-site. It's on a Saturday.
But see, that's the
I would
question
think that
have.
we
I would
need
think
to, I
that-
think we'd need to clarify that with,
Yeah.
It was,
The
one of the
states.
things that was spoken about was with Attorney Mead.
Okay.
well, just because there are things that have been done in the past,
And the
doesn't
Board
mean
of
that they're
Selectmen.
correct. I think if any topic that comes up that is part of any deliberation, or anything that would come before this board as business, it becomes an open meeting.
Madam Chair, if I may, I've been on retreats with the city council and the school committee in past years, and we don't post, we don't talk about any business that would be on the agenda.
Right.
We talk about how we're gonna get things done together.
Right.
would be different.
And how you're
So
gonna work
that's
together.
policies and procedures, that's on our
How
agenda.
we're gonna work together, not interrupt each other, work where we talk to each other, we call each other by first name, those type of things. That's
Right.
what we talk about in
It's
those,
getting to know one
type of
another and actually
retreats.
being able to
what we have in
just have
common,
interpersonal relationships with them.
what we have in common, all
Right.
that kind of stuff. It's actually good. You do exercises, the professional bring out exercises to get team building. It's not about anything on the agenda.
Is there a charge for this?
No, it's free to the town.
It's free to the town because of who,
It's just something that's been offered to the town.
by some professional?
It's by a professional and it's held at an
If it's a
off-site facility.
professional works free, I mean,
Yes,
so I'd be interested if you gave more detail. I mean, it sounds kind of vague right now, like, who is the
well, the
person?
point is, I'm going to be speaking about setting this up with the town manager's office, and I just wanted to know who would be interested in taking part in it.
Well,
It doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing here. It is strictly on an IPR, an interpersonal relationship for us.
I would be interested if there was more detail, but without more detail. I mean, I've mentioned that before.
KG?
I'll be interested if there's a vegetarian food, otherwise I would bring my own food.
We'll take care of that. Charlie, how do you
I'm
feel
game.
about it? You game?
Yeah.
And Ed?
As I said, if I can go, if it's not an open meeting, yeah.
Oh, it would not be an open meeting.
As long as it's not an open meeting, there's no minutes taken, and I can speak freely.
Well, the thing with speaking freely, it means that you may be speaking concerning
No.
concerning policies and
No.
procedures. I mean, when
Not
you say
necessarily.
freely,
No, not
if you're
necessarily.
speaking freely about your children or your
Yeah, anything
house
that I
or
want.
your,
Anything that you want.
but that has nothing to do with the board policies or.
But it helps the board to work together if we have a better working relationship between ourselves.
By speaking freely, I don't mean speaking about anything that we might ever deliberate on, most likely. And if there is,
Well-
then I won't mention it. It's to
Okay.
speak my opinion,
Right.
to address issues that I would like to address.
That you feel are a problem.
Yes, exactly.
But
That's all.
that then brings us back to the October 13th meeting, where there was an objection for me. Honestly, there was
Thank
an
you, Ed.
objection that I explain my motion, and then it wasn't even allowed in the minutes as a motion. So, if you ask questions, but then don't give an opportunity for someone to respond, and it has to do with board business, then it becomes non-productive.
Was there, I was getting ready to leave, but was there a motion to adjourn?
There
Did
was a
somebody-
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Meeting is adjourned.
I'm sorry, there was
Thank
no
you.
other, there was no opportunity to object.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
For the record, I object because we still have agenda
off the air.
items, and we're not having
Oh,
enough
there's your
meetings.
pen.
Motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Discussion, non-discussion.